In my last episode, I set up this to-do list on the wall behind me, and at the time I said, I'm actually pretty sure I missed a couple of things. And yes, I did definitely forget a few things. The biggest thing I forgot was that our iron farm has not been working for quite some time, and Asta pointed out that if we want to build this mega furnace array, there are a lot of hoppers involved, and we probably do not currently have enough iron. We're going to need to do an iron farm before we build the mega furnace array. So that'll probably be fairly soon. Now, I didn't exactly forget this one, but I want to put the kelp farm that we're going to work on in this episode up on the wall, if only to take it down by the end of the episode. Hopefully that's how everything goes down, but I like the satisfaction of taking something down and keeping track of what we've been working on. And another thing I did forget is we tore down my nether wart farm. We tore down the whole building. I no longer have a nether wart farm. I would definitely like to replace that at some point in the very near future. And then a few things that we talked about in the last episode. I talked about the possibility of upgrading our wool farm. So I want to put that up on the board. And I also definitely want to build a building around the wool farm and a building around that dark oak farm. I think that'd be a nice center where we could make some really cool buildings. So those are definitely things I'd like to do at some point. And then the last thing that I want to add to the list today is we've got an awful lot of hoppers, both in my base and over at spawn at the Obsidian Bank. And I think we could do something either to reduce the number of hoppers involved or possibly lock the hoppers when they're not in use that could help do some lag busting and make some more efficient storage systems. So I'd like to do something about the hopper spam at some point in time. We've got an awful lot of hoppers, and locking as many of those as possible should help with lag. And there's even a couple more ideas that aren't fully realized yet that I will probably add to the board at some point in time, but you can see the nature of the beast. We have added more than we have taken away in a very short amount of time, but that's kind of the way things go sometimes. But we'll get through it. Let's start with that kelp farm over there. I gotta ask though, what's up with this perfectly shaped set of bushes here? Did you cultivate these bushes?
Yeah, there's actually a couple foxes that have been around here that I've been trying to capture them,
Oh,
but
okay.
swimming into the ocean, and there were like three foxes on this
There's
island.
foxes on an island.
No, it's weird, right? I
That's
actually found turtles on this island, and then there's turtles over there. There's also a dog over there, or wolves actually. There's just a couple of wolves over there as well.
The turtles can at least swim away. Where do the foxes go?
Um, I found them across the island in the ocean, just sitting there.
They're just bobbing up
Yeah,
and down in the ocean.
yeah.
Alrighty then. In all seriousness, I just had to ask because I saw this patch of bushes and I'm like, that's interesting. That's clearly was done by a person, not by the game.
That'd be very weird.
So we got a bunch of loaders here. There's a whole bunch of warped fence gates, whole bunch of dark prismarine. We already knew about it, all the dark prismarine. We've dealt with that in the past. And then wow, that's a lot of stone. And so you got these dispensers for us to get the items very easily. So the first step is building the structure of the thing, right?
The foundation. We still got to get a lot of that done. With
Yes, that's going to be one of the biggest parts, right? We got to basically build walls in between each of the sections.
No, the foundation is all the stone because of the way the ocean terrain generated. I actually have to create a foundation. So
Oh, okay.
the ravines and everything need covered up and it makes it really difficult because you have two choices: either swim around and play stuff or stand on top of stone and water. So you might notice that I've changed all these beacons from haste to speed.
Okay.
And
Yeah, that makes sense.
that discovery came from the sand quarry.
Yeah, I remember that quite well. So
So
are we
now
replacing all this diorite and granite with stone too? So we gotta
No,
no.
the ice layer you see here is actually the very bottom of the farm, but you actually won't see that because a block above this or two, there'll actually be water flowing this way towards the center of the farm.
Okay.
So it'll all be hidden under the stone and under the kelp. The kelp is going to actually be 2 blocks above this. The kelp is, you'll see right here, this little wall I built. So down here, there's this little wall. I went around the entire thing and marked it, and this is the height of where all the stone needs to be placed. And
Okay.
then the other step aside from that is that this needs 2 layers of stone around the entire ice track, but then it just needs to be covered the rest of the way. It doesn't matter if there's water inside of this right here. It won't matter at all. Drowned won't spawn in it. I don't think squids or dolphins will spawn in it either, but it
Okay.
won't matter for the kelp farm.
So we're placing a stone layer at this level right here where I'm standing.
Yep.
And then the kelp's gonna get it's gonna fall, it's gonna get pushed into this ice track, which is gonna be 2 blocks down from it. And that's
Yeah.
where the items are going to go?
Yeah, so atop this ice, there's going to be an entire wall about 27 tall of fence gates.
Of fence gates, yep. So that the
Yep.
items will actually, and they don't have to be opened? No, it's because they're in the middle, they'll bump into the fence gates.
Yeah, they'll align
Yep,
on both
yep,
properly.
I remember it. Okay. All
The
right.
best part I actually found was gates. Everything else just waterlogs, and then the items eventually float back up.
Oh, and the fence gates will block the water, so that'll get rid of all the water over the ice tracks. The items will be sent over to the fence gates, and then they will fall. And then where's the dark prismarine go? Is that for the outside walls?
That's for everything. So you'll notice that in between actually each one of these segments is where the dark oak prismarine will go, or the dark oak prismarine. Wow, the dark prismarine will actually go between each ice track and then around it as well.
If you need some dark oak, I have a lot of dark oak all of
I
a
heard about
sudden.
that. Yeah, I heard about that.
All right, and then once we get all the structure built, then we build the actual flying machines that'll actually break the kelp? Or is
Yeah,
there
so
anything before that?
there's the return stations. So we got
Okay.
to do everything basically in reverse. So we've got to build the walls, then we got to plant the kelp, then we got to build the return station, and then the flying machine.
Oh,
And
I am not looking forward to planting all this kelp.
it actually is a lot quicker than placing the stone.
Oh, yeah, that's probably true. Oh, and we actually have a section of the stone done over here.
Yeah, this is yeah, I've got a few modules done, and this is actually a completed module right here as well. So
Over here. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
there we go. That
so
should be
this
nice to see.
we can actually harvest this if I want to. Let
And
me grab.
we have flowing water, so the kelp will actually shoot up, and then the flowing water will send it over into these trapdoors. And not all of it will come over. Some of it will just like float slowly over to the side, and then it'll hit the trapdoors and then fall straight down, right?
Yeah, this kelp farm has a 100% collection rate.
Oh yeah, so which is very important because otherwise it would break the entire game
Oh yeah,
because
and
there's so much kelp.
it's actually really satisfying if you're on this side of it as it's harvesting. Yeah, you see it.
Yeah, I see it. It
It's really satisfying.
slowly emitting kelp. That's fun to watch.
It's satisfying.
All right. So then the flying machines and then item collection as well as that cover everything that needs to be done here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a big project, but it should be pretty cool. I mean, the kelp isn't super useful, but it's just kind of neat to make farms this big, just for the sake of making farms that are this big. So I helped out quite a bit with the actual flying machine that's going to fly back and forth and break all the kelp. But as far as the item collection goes, we actually sat on this farm for months because we had a lot of trouble figuring out the item collection. We probably went through 5, 6, maybe 7 different ideas trying to come up with different solutions for the item collection, and nothing seemed to work. Like I said, you have to collect 100% of the items. Otherwise, you will crash the server very, very quickly. Even leaving behind 1% of the items would still crash the server super duper quickly. And you need to get rid of them as quickly as possible so that when you're breaking the next farm, hopefully most of these items are already out of the way. Otherwise, you're going to have huge lag spikes and eventually it'll crash the server. So we tried a bunch of different things, like I said. One of the ones was trying flying machines at the top of the water that would fly back and forth and push the items that had floated up to the top of the water. And neither of those worked. Funny enough, honey will entirely ignore it. It will just fly right over all the items at the top of the water. We did not expect that. And slime, if I remember correctly, just ended up missing like a lot of the items and also pushing them off to the side. That one didn't work at all really either. And so eventually Asta came up with the idea. We had this idea for a water column on top of the water. So we're 1 block above the water and we've got flowing water on top of it and it pushes it towards the middle. Once it comes up to the top, it gets pushed over here. And so Asta had the idea of putting soul sand there and then having a flying machine that would move it back and forth and push all the items down to the end. And that worked, but it left the items in the world for an awful long time. And so eventually he ended up coming up with this idea of the fence gates here, and this was a pretty clever idea. So now they come up to the top, they hit the flowing water, they come over here and they'll fall straight down, and you can have water down there, and it gets them out of the world a lot quicker. It's a very clever idea, and I have not seen it working yet in all its glory. I've seen every other aspect of this kelp farm. I haven't actually seen the item collection fully working, so that should be a lot of fun. All right, it's a little bit hard to see down here, but we've got all of the stone. You can't actually see down to both ends, but I've set up all of these stone platforms, and now you can see the water channels where the items are going to flow through, and the stones where we're going to plant all the kelp. And we've got some conduits and some beacons that are built into it. We'll come back. We need those for now, so we'll come back and remove those later. I believe the next step is to set up the actual fence gates and the dark prismarine walls. So let's get started on that one.
Hey man, how's it going?
Oh,
Bye.
oh man, it's like impossible to get back into this thing. I gotta break a little. There we go.
Actually, there's a trick. If you get in Elytra mode, you can bounce back up.
Can you?
You gotta bounce into Elytra. Get a bounce into Elytra mode, and then you gotta just bob in the water until it works. You gotta just keep spamming it. Spam it. See? And then just spam your.
Oh.
Bye.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm gonna do this. There we go.
So lazy.
Yeah. So we have come a long way since just some stone platforms.
Yeah, this is really, really big.
It's been
a lot of progress.
Several days of progress here.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, this took us quite a while. So we got all the fence gate walls, all the dark prismarine walls. We got some of the decorations. There's more decorations that are going to come later. We did a bunch of this in a stream today, and we finally got all this grinded out. And so what's left?
We just got to plant a bunch of kelp, and then once we do that, I think it's removing all the beacons and conduits, finishing up the interior water, and getting the slime works.
Oh, man. All right, well, it's still the home stretch. The kelp shouldn't be too bad. It's just placing a bunch of kelp. The flying machines, I actually think those are going to be those aren't going to take very long at all.
This water was actually really difficult. It takes about 10 minutes it takes about 5 minutes aside and 10 minutes per module to do. They were a lot more work than I expected.
You came up with a faster way than I would have even, and I knew it would be slow, but you actually came up with a faster way than I would have. Because I thought you needed to preserve the water underneath it, but you were able to just put slime blocks underneath it, and that way you were able to punch it. I thought we were going to have to use like slabs, which would have taken longer to remove.
Oh no, you just got to make sure that you update the flowing water right here, and up to the 6th block here. You just got to do 6 rows of slime across. And since it's slime, it's instantly breakable. The only thing I had to do, I was trying to figure out how to fix the water problem. And actually, it doesn't matter if the rest of this farm down here is solid water or not. Kelp will actually fix that over.
Oh yeah, that is true, won't it?
Don't actually get stuck in flowing down water anymore. They just move up really slowly.
Yeah.
But I wanted to fix it ahead of time, so one slice, just an entire one slice of this had to be ice.
You look really silly.
You should have seen it when you were making the walls. You were like upside down, your legs in the air.
Oh yeah. We were actually swimming while placing the walls and stuff like that. And then so next step, kelp.
Yeah, I think so. We've got a few boxes down here started, but this is nowhere near enough to finish. We should be able to get a quarter of the farm started with this, but since I'm starting and placing it really fast, it's not efficient with the kelp. So
you said we need about 20. Yeah,
20 boxes to plant, but I'm probably we'll probably end up using 30 to 35 just to plant because it's so much quicker to use fast click.
Well, we at least got 10 here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we've got. Yeah, like I said, we've got about a quarter of the farm right here ready.
Oh, is there more down here?
Oh yeah, there's
even more. Yeah, okay. This shouldn't be too bad, he says, with dread in his voice. Well, we've run into a little bit of a problem. We've been using Tweakaroo and fast right click in order to place the kelp. And when we do that, there's a tendency for it to place more than one layer, like you see. And when that happens, some of these top ones can actually end up having an age of 0. And what that means is that it can actually grow an additional 25 extra blocks. But the height of this is specifically set so that only these bottom layers should be allowed to grow a total of 26 blocks. And that means they won't interfere with the top flowing water up there. And if these top ones actually grow up to that point, they will end up creating water sources in the middle of the flowing water and breaking the flowing water, and that's bad. So What I could do is I can come back through and punch out the tops of all of these, but we have to set up the flying machines anyways. So I've been scrambling, trying to get all the flying machines set up before any of the other ones grow up to the top layers and break the flowing water up there. And it looks as though I've succeeded. It's only the first few areas that we've had this happen. That's where it happened before I even noticed it. And so I've got all that out of the way. It's a little bit of an inconvenience. It changes our workflow a little bit. On the bright side, though, this has definitely ensured that we have plenty of kelp to plant the whole rest of the farm, and we actually have so much kelp that I've stopped storing it and I've started burning it because there's nowhere to put it all just yet. There's no storage system yet, so I've had to just start burning it. Despite that minor setback, it didn't take us very long to plant all the kelp. Carms actually came and helped us, and it only took a few minutes per section. So we've got all the sections all the way down, all of the kelp planted. We've got all the flying machines set up. We even got the water channels set up that go down all the way to the end. So the only thing that's left is the slime wire that actually fires off these flying machines in sequence. And there's actually a story behind the slime wire that runs this thing. When I was working on my sugarcane farm, we came up with the idea for a dustless system to power the flying machines in the same pattern as we were using for the sugarcane farm. The problem was, at the time, it was just too expensive. It used a lot of slime and a lot of redstone blocks, and there didn't seem to be a strong reason to go dustless when the dust version was just so much cheaper. So we had most of it worked out. There were a few minor kinks. I didn't see any value at the time at working out those kinks because we didn't need the system. But then later, when Asta was working on the kelp farm, I'm like, hey, we have this dustless system that we worked on, and it would run underwater because there's no redstone dust. So we ironed out those kinks and we got it all working, and now we've got a system that will actually run underwater, and the extra expense of the slime and the redstone actually makes a little bit more sense now. So this is the slime wire I was talking about. There's a lot going on here. There's basically 3 different circuits. Down below, there is the actual loop circuit that when one machine comes in, it fires off the next machine. And then up here, these 2 lines right here are the on-off circuit. And then this one right here is the return circuit. So the on-off circuit, actually all it does is it pulls a block out of the way so that if these observers get updated by anything, it's not going to power this trapdoor because this block is moved out of the way. So when this machine is off, the last machine will come in and dock, and then the next machine can't fire off because that block has been pulled out of the way. And that's really all it does. And it also powers this one right here that fires off the first machine by extending this piston, updates this observer, and this will already be in place, and it fires off the first machine. And then we have the actual loop circuit. This one has a redstone block attached to it. When it goes away, this unextends, and then so does this thing, and that doesn't cause any updates over here because the observer is just going down. It doesn't cause anything to happen. And then when it comes back in, it's going to push this redstone block back into place, extend this, powering this machine, and then this one's going to power over to this machine over here, and then this one's going to power it over to here, like we said, and it just continues like that in a loop until we get all the way down to the end. And so this one is where the return circuit comes in. So when that one flies off, then this will all retract, and actually nothing will happen. It will just retract this observer right here, and nothing happens again, just like the other side. And then when that one comes back, this will all extend. It'll extend that observer again. We'll extend this, firing off this redstone block, hitting this note block, updating this observer, which will fire off this machine. So when it's done with all the machines all the way down to the end, it comes back and loops through and does the whole thing all over again until you turn it off. So a very cool circuit, all very waterproof. We had some issue with this circuit right here, actually, because this was just pushing a block in front of the observer. And that was actually causing a double update, which is really bad. It crashes the flying machine. So we came up with the idea of using a note block instead, and that keeps a solid block in front of this observer so we don't have water updates. But everything else, perfectly waterproof. It's a very cool system. It looks cool. Again, a lot more expensive than your standard redstone-based system, but man, it is cool. All right, Asta, you ready to do the honors?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Think you know where that goes?
Right here?
Right there. You ready to fire this baby off, see what happens?
Whew, I'm nervous.
What do you think our chances of success are?
I'm hoping there's no mistakes made. We've spent a really long time on this.
Well, I mean, we've already seen every single one of these stations fire off normally, so there could be something wrong with the slime wire down here, but other than that, it should be pretty fixable. I mean, the worst thing that happens is the flying machines crash together, and we gotta tear. I mean, it should only be one at a time.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I've been ready. All right, let's go see what we got down here.
Oh, there's a slime block left in the way.
Where?
And right there, you'll see it. One more module. One more module. There it is. Damn, stop. You're on it. You're past it. It's right there.
Oh,
That's slime.
there it is.
And then you gotta update that piston.
This guy right here.
Yeah, okay, there it goes. I'm checking it. Oh, we gotta start. I gotta flip it again because it didn't get the first update.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, things like this are to be expected.
It took off. There it goes. It's going. Yes! Yes! The beginning of a completely absurd farm being fired for no reason whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I see kelp over there.
Oh, there it goes.
Look at it go. All right, and then once this one comes back, it should launch off this one, and then the one right next to it, and then the one across from it. That's the order it goes.
Yeah, it snakes. So it goes. So that when that one comes back, it's going to do the exact opposite to the one right behind you.
Yeah,
And then it's going to go to the left, and then behind it.
and then to the right of that one, and then across, and then just go on. And so we probably got to wait and watch, make sure the entire thing goes off, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to be sitting here for another 90 minutes. Yep.
It takes 90 minutes to harvest the whole thing.
An hour and 15-ish minutes and some odd seconds.
Oh, wow. And right now, we are just burning all the items, for the record. We're still just burning all the items because, like, we haven't set up the storage yet. There's still quite a bit more details, but Asta has a XP array, a kelp furnace array that we can use the XP for stuff. And that's what he's going to set up on this. All right, but we've got I mean, even though we're just burning the kelp, which makes it the most useless farm ever, and it was already a pretty useless farm, it's still working.
So far, yeah.
And
there goes the second module. There it goes.
Yeah. Let's go see this one. Oh, yeah.
It's halfway there.
There it goes. So we let this thing run all the way to the end, and then it cycled back to the beginning properly, and it looks like everything's working. So we turned it off because, well, we're just burning the items anyways. So like I said, Asta wants to build an kelp XP array, and that'll allow us to repair our items very quickly by pulling the kelp out of the furnace. And that should be a pretty nifty thing. It'll also smelt all the kelp for us. So we'll have lots of kelp blocks that we can use as fuel, both for that system and for other systems in the future. So that'll be pretty nifty, but it's going to have to wait until a future episode. Asta's going to take that on, and then there's definitely a possibility I'm going to end up helping with that as well, because it's going to be a pretty big system. And if anybody's wondering, by the way, this is, I believe it's 175,000 kelp per hour. That's at its continuous rate. And then obviously when you first harvest it, if it's grown up quite a bit, then it's going to give you quite a bit more than that, somewhere around 225,000 kelp per hour. Definitely a very insane kelp farm. And I actually ended up grabbing enough kelp from this farm. I've got like 2 shulker boxes of kelp blocks that I can use for decoration and stuff like that. I've got plenty of coal for fuel right now, so I've gotten all I need from this farm right now. We don't really need storage just yet, so that can definitely wait until the future. Just getting this farm built is enough for me. If you imagine, Asta was working on this farm on his own, and he was digging it out for quite some time, and then both of us together, it took us a week to build this thing. This thing is gigantic. And so that means we get to take another item down off the board here, even if it is an item that we added just this episode and we haven't yet actually made any real progress on this board. I think in the next episode, we can actually start chipping away at some of these. I'm thinking a mob head farm. That'd be kind of fun to make, but there is a chance we will do the iron farm instead. We'll see how things go. But yeah, we can definitely start making some actual progress on this board. If you're wondering, by the way, why there weren't any time lapses, that's because I gave all the replays to Asta. He's doing an episode of this on his own, and I gave him the privilege of having all the cool footage of us building it. But I feel a little bad because that also comes with the responsibility of having to edit down all those replays. That's going to be a tremendous amount of work for him. So hopefully he has his episode out soon. I will make sure to link it when he does. And also I will link his main page. You can go check that out. He has done a video of talking about when he actually dug the thing out. That was a tremendous amount of work. Just that section right there, digging it out, took him quite a bit of time. So you should definitely go check that out. So that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye now.